Okay, now remember, we've got to put this knuckle back on there. So look at your directions now. Make sure you know which way the knuckle goes. But also look at the directions, because you remember, we've got to put this little housing piece on first. If you put this on and get it all situated, then at the last second you hang it. Oh, crap, you forgot to put this on. So make sure you read your directions. So we're going to put this on first, and we're going to put the knuckle on. Okay, you got to slip all the wires on to get this housing piece on there. And we're not going to tighten these screws yet. I'm just doing, this is a just dry run. Okay, that's going to fit down in there. That looks right. I look at my directions. Everything looks okay. Okay, now this is good. So I'm just going to leave this loose right here. Then I'm going to look, and it looks like it's time for me to put the knuckle back on. So look at your directions, step by step, and you'll get it. Okay, you're putting the wires through this knuckle. I'm going to slide this knuckle down, but make sure, like I say, you read your directions, because I tricked you. We're not going to put this on yet. If you look at your directions and your diagram, you're going to notice that this housing's got to fit in here too. We can't slip this housing on after we put the knuckle on, can we? So we got to first slip the knuckle on, or this housing down in here, and then we can go ahead and put this knuckle on. Okay? Okay, we got this canopy on. Now we're going to take the knuckle, slip it through there. We're going to slide that on. Okay, we have our knuckle on here. Now we're going to take that loose pin. Do you remember? There's two holes here. You can just drop that right now if you want. You're going to slip this in here through the wires, and it's just going to stick out, you know, 1/4 inch on both sides, whatever. Read your directions. Each fan assembly could be slightly different. I'm basically explaining to you the steps, and once you look at this video and your directions, you'll be more inclined to feel like you can do it. Okay, now I'm going to slide this up. There's a definite little notch in there, so if you have it in the wrong position, get it in the right position so you can lift it up. And I'm going to take my set screw, and I remember where there's a little set mark on the side. Like I say, if you turn it around the other way, that's okay too, but I'm just going to lift this all the way up there, and I'm going to tighten that right back on here. Make sure you push this all the way up so it's up tight against that rod, and tighten up this set screw. Okay, this is what we got so far. This is going to lift up right up to our finished box. This all looks right. Look at your directions. Make sure everything looks okay. And remember these two little screws down here at the bottom I was telling you about? What you're going to want to do is hold on to your knuckle here and position it so it's going straight up and down. Pull on it. There's just a little bit of a gap right there. Not very much, hardly anything. Just pull on it tight, and we're going to tighten these two screws. Okay, these two screws, as I'm tightening it, I'm going to take my Phillips first, and I'm going to make them snug. But there is a slot on there for a standard. So I'm going to do it. I always like to do this. Use my Phillips first, and then I can do my slotted, and I can really crank down on there just a little bit harder than I can a Phillips. It just seems like that's the best for me, so that's what I do. On these screws here, what I do is I make them snug with my Phillips, and sometimes on the Phillips screws, the Phillips slot here, there might be a straight edge that goes all the way across where I can use my standard screwdriver. So once I make this snug with my Phillips, then I'll use a standard, which is a standard slot. I just call it a standard, where I can really crank down on there at the end. So that's what I do. You don't have to do that, but I feel I can get the screws just a little bit tighter that way. Okay, this is what your ceiling fan is going to look like so far. You've got your wires coming out of the top. Here's your ground wire. Everything's tight. This is all nice and tight. This is going to go up like that. Here's your housing piece here that fits down in there. Like I say, some fans are different. This is just how this one is. So make sure you look at your directions. This is going to give you the basics, or more than just the basics, I'd say. A complete understanding how to put everything together. Now we're ready to go over to the ceiling. But what we're going to end up doing is here's this unit here. It's got a notch in it. This is going to screw up to the ceiling, And then we're going to lift this up. This knuckle is going to fit. We're going to have to reroute our wires and stuff, you know, but the knuckle's basically going to fit up in there like that, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do that. And there's a definite little notch in here that once we get up there, it's gonna notch into place, so it's gonna hold this steady. If you have a ceiling that's a cathedral ceiling, which is a sloping ceiling, that notch you know, fits into there. There's a definite way that fits, even on flat ceilings. So we'll get to that step, but the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take this piece here, we're gonna screw it up to the ceiling. I'm going to slip this up in here, and I'm just going to look and see which notches I want to utilize. Now this is a flat ceiling, so it really doesn't matter where this notch fits. It just matters where I feel comfortable off of my ladder, how I'm going to lift the fan up and fit it down into this notch. Now if you were on a cathedral ceiling, this would be at an angle, so there's a little notch in here where the knuckle fits in. You would want that angled downward. But here, it's not going to matter, okay? So, however you feel comfortable fitting that up. I'm going to make this notch fit towards me so that you guys can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to screw this up in here now.